Hey, it's Brandon Lewis here again, Director of the Marketing Department at the Academy for Professional Painting Contractors, and we're going to talk about now what your second 30 days, really 30 through 60 days, the second part of the Core 5 system, what it's really about. And we're going to talk about why so many people struggle with closing the leads they get, why so many people are constantly beat up by chucking a truck, people who feel like that price is the primary thing that the customer is concerned about when it's not the case. Study after study indicates it's somewhere around 13 and 14. Recently did an interview with Brian Brock of Hulco Exteriors. They're an $8.5 million remodeler. They've gotten Remodeler of the Year over and over again in Remodeling Magazine. They have a closing rate on site of 40%. Their average price is $9,000, which is about 3 times higher than the $3,000 price range I see with our members and most painting contractors that are established, and they are the most expensive people in our market. And so what that shows you is that it's not just about price, it's about a whole host of other things. And what I'm going to talk to you about is how our PowerPaint presentation process completely breaks down all of the things that stand in the way of you getting premium pricing at high closing rates when you go out to sell a job. So let's talk through this quickly, and I'm going to first kind of dig into some concepts that are important. And the first concept I want to talk to you about is really this. When it comes to closing a sale, especially for the first time with someone, or getting the premium price of your for your services, quality of work doesn't matter. Now hold on for a minute as I explain this. Number one, quality of work does not matter. When you go out and see a customer for the first time especially, or a past customer you've not seen for some time, there's this thing in our minds as painting contractors where we believe that because we do quality work, that they should know instinctively we do quality work. They should be able to tell that we're different from somebody else and that they should pay higher prices, when in fact we are selling the invisible. We are selling something that they have not seen. So the first concept I want you to know, and to know to be true in your heart of hearts, is that the quality of the work doesn't matter because you've not done it yet. They haven't seen it. So what really matters to the customer is quality of the presentation does matter. Does that make sense? They are just looking at your entire presentation, not how accurately you get your estimate. We're not going to talk about accuracy of estimating. We're going to talk about closing the job. We're going to assume that as a painting contractor you know how to estimate and you can do simple division in math and use production rates. We're going to talk about closing jobs here. They're going to look at your process that you put them through. They're going to look at the process that the other two people, the other competitors, put them through. And they're going to make a judgment based on the quality of the process, if indeed the additional price, the margin of additional cost that you're quoting them works for them, if they believe that somehow those two things are correlated. So the first thing you have to realize is if you want high-priced margins for your high-quality work, you must have a high-quality presentation process. One without the other simply will not work. You will be more disappointed than you'll be happy. So number two, it's all about trust. They need to know that they can trust you. And that's really the whole thing that you're trying to prove to them, is that you are trustworthy, that you have given them a fair price, that if something goes wrong, it will be taken care of. And the only way that you can build trust, and we only have a 72 to 96 hour window to build trust, the only way you can do this is to use what I call the trust formula. And trust in estimating, in my opinion, is equal to the number of interactions times the quality of interactions. Does this make sense? The number of interactions times the quality of interactions. Think about it. If you're broken down on the side of the road and it's 3 a.m. and you've got one cell phone bar left and your battery's about to die and you're in the bad part of town for whatever reason you ended up there and you've got to make a phone call, who do you call? You call somebody you trust. Because of the number of interactions you've had with them and the quality of the interactions, you know that they are going to consistently be there for you because they've been there for you in the past. So what you've got to do with your presentation process is increase the number of interactions and increase the quality of interactions in order to be able to charge higher prices. Number 3, you're competing with white-collar professionals. Let me explain what I mean by that. When you go out and quote an exterior for $7,000, $6,500, that's the cost of cosmetic surgery, that's the cost of dental implants, that's the cost of a middle-class divorce, a very expensive IRS tax audit. These are very big tickets. Now, you may not make as much money as an attorney, as a CPA, as a plastic surgeon, but the homeowner and in many cases the business owner doesn't care. They just see the large number that they're about to give you for something they probably don't want to pay for, and you're asking all this money. And yet we're going to try to email in a weak and wimpy estimate. Could you imagine if you took your spouse to go look at a major surgery, heart surgery or something, and you got on the phone with him and he scheduled a little time to meet and he came out to your house and he said, well, what are you looking to do? I'm looking to get some heart surgery. And then you went, okay, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll email you a one-page document about the heart surgery and maybe give you a phone call. Does that sound good? You would run like heck. So if you're competing with white-collar pros, you have to have a selling process that is similar to white-collar pros. You have to be authoritative. You have to have lots of proof. You have to have tools that are similar to the tools that white-collar pros use to gather information in a consultative fashion. Consumers are changing. They want more information, more proof, more systems, and younger people are constantly coming into your market, and franchises and other professional independent painting contractors are coming into your market. If your sales system looks anything like build some rapport on the phone, show up, build some rapport, email in an estimate, and maybe make a phone call, you can't get high quality work. You just simply can't. Okay? And so that's one of the big reasons why Chucking a Truck is beating you on price, is because when you start looking at all this stuff from the vantage point of the consumer, the homeowner, the business owner, they can't tell that you're any different. Now, yes, you are different, but they just can't tell it because they can only judge by your presentation process. So I'm going to tell you quickly what our PowerPaint presentation process looks like. Number 1 is we're going to do what we call pre-positioning, meaning that we're going to answer the phone in a very specific way. We're going to collect unique information with that customer that's going to help us then do things with them in a consultative fashion that will later be useful when we show up on site. We're going to send them information in a 3-step process electronically and by conventional snail mail. So that means that before we ever even get there, our pre-positioning is going to have built trust 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different times. Remember, trust is the number of interactions times the quality of interactions. And because we have more interactions, they're more likely to trust us and trust me in that the quality of what we do in this process is very good. And it digs in and it answers all of the unspoken questions that they have. So before we show up, compared to Chucking a Truck, who just answered the phone and then showed up, probably answered the phone in an unprofessional way, probably didn't have a script, probably didn't have an intake process, we're going to be like 5 times to 6 times better than him before we ever arrive. So we're going to show up. Number 2, we're going to present in a very professional way that includes information we've gathered to gift. We're going to do an overview. We're going to have a specific survey that we have sent to them in advance And we're going to play the role of the consultant when we arrive, not because we need to do it to build a price, but because we need to do it to be able to sell the job. It's about their experience, not our convenience. You know, if you just want to do stuff that's convenient to you, you're going to lose tons of money in this business. It's all about that customer. And we're going to then do a very specific audit process as we do our measurement. We're going to leave them with information that sells them while we're in the car. We're going to present and come back on site to do the estimate, and then we're going to talk about and use a tool that explains our customer, or rather our company story, how we're different with our people, our processes, and our products. And then we're going to use a post-positioning guide, what I'll call a landmine for other painting contractors. Post-positioning guide that's a landmine for other painting contractors, so that you have taught them how to buy your services, you've left them the proof that you're the perfect contractor, and then when Chuck in a truck comes behind you, not only does he look like a schmo because he's done none of this, not only does he look like a schmo because his presentation is going to be very awful, it's going to be that same old email a PDF, email a Word document crap, scribble something out on a sheet of paper, it's going to be terrible, and he's going to do no post-positioning, right? So now this customer has all their questions answered, they've got all these resources and tools. Then we're not going to stop there. We're going to do MultiMedium, multi-step follow-up. And it's going to push the handful that have not converted over the edge. And then we're going to continuously and always market to our unconverted leads, because there's tons of money in there. Tons of money. Every year, after taking people through a multi-step, multi-medium follow-up process that you would think anybody who was in there was just a tire kicker, wasn't worth any money, I'd find $30,000 or $40,000 in my unconverted leads for the year, and that's after they'd went through a 9-step, very specific process. People give up on their leads way too early, and the big reason they don't convert is because they don't have pre-positioning, they don't have presenting, they don't have post-positioning, so they have to beat them up with follow-up. Well, we're still going to do follow-up, but we've softened the beachhead here, okay? 2 things I want you to know that are critically important before we leave all this about beating Chuck in a truck. Number 1 is, it costs no less time and no less money to do a really, really good job in your estimate process than it does to do a crappy job. Or the way I put it is, you can do a flaming bag of poop estimate where you just email it in and just real weak and real wimpy and real no effort. Or you can do the Mona Lisa, the best practices estimate that lets you close at higher rates, even with cold leads, and lets you charge higher prices. Costs the same amount of time. In fact, most people, when they start using our system, it takes less time. Much less. Often half as much. Read the testimonials. In addition to that, it costs maybe a couple of dollars an estimate. $2, maybe $3 at the most, to do all this stuff that I'm talking about. So if it takes less time and it's just a little bit more money, which frankly you get back because you only have to move your closing rates just a little bit to almost double your painting business's profits, and we don't have time to get into the numbers of that, you just got to do it right. If you're going to go out there and do it, I'll put it this way, you wouldn't go out if somebody had rusty handrails and paint them with a latex paint without wire brushing them and put without putting chemchromic or some kind of bonding primer or XIM on there. You would not paint those handrails without first, brushing the crap out of them, scraping the crap out of them, priming them, and painting them. You'd be like, that would be crazy, because if I do it the crappy way, I'm just going to have to come back and do it again, and the customer's going to be mad. Well, take the same approach with your stinking estimates. Don't do a crappy estimate. Do a good estimate. And I'm not talking about calculating the numbers. I'm talking about selling the thing, okay? So let's do these estimates right. Let's do them right. And if you will, I'm going to go ahead and quickly just run through some numbers, if you'll bear with me here. And this is how big of a difference it can make. Let's say that you see, I'm going to come down here to the bottom. I hope you still got it in screenshot. Let's say that you see, on average, an estimate a day. Now, when I ran my painting business, we'd run about 25 to 30 estimates a week. But let's say you just see an estimate a day. And so let's say it's Monday through Friday, you see 5 a week. We're going to take 5 times 52 and equals 260, okay? You got 260 leads. And let's say right now, for cold leads, we're not going to factor in the new ones here. Well, let's start factoring in a few things. You got 260 leads, and let's say that your closing rate right now, overall, is 22%. This is new leads, everything else. That means that you're going to close times 0.22, 57.2 jobs, and let's say we're going to go ahead and say $3,000 a job times 3,000 equals, that's $171,600. 171,600. All right. Let's say now that you take your closing rates because you have started marketing to your past customers, and those have like closing rates of 60 to 80%, especially when you use a process like this. And make no mistake, you have to sell your past customers just as hard as people who don't know you, because they forget, and frankly, they are less price sensitive, so you really make more money doing a good job in sales. People often feel like they need to skimp on the past customers and only really sell the new leads, and that's just crazy thinking. It mathematically doesn't work out. Well, let's say you come down here and you do all this, right? And let's say that you start marketing to your past customers, and now all of a sudden you can take your overall closing rate to 44%, which is not unreasonable if you have a large mix of past customers, which you will in our system. So you take that, and then all of a sudden you're a $343,000 painting business. All you have to do to double your business really is just to get your past customers to do work with you and to improve your sales process. Two big stops. Now, we can see all kinds of things that I can talk to you about increasing this. And let's say your profitability here at $343,000 is 30%, or let's say it's 25%. Then that means you're going to make times 0.25 equals $85,800, okay? So you're still getting this on the screen. It looks like you are. So $85,800. Here's the thing that I want to close on, and that's really important for you to know. Most people's prices are too low. And the reason their prices are too low is because of this. It's not about the quality of work, it's about the quality of the presentation. So if you want to raise your prices, you can't arbitrarily just raise them. You have to have a sales process that supports, justifies, validates in the mind of the customer that you're worth the extra money. So let's say your 25% is your profit margin. You could easily take this 25%, 0.25, multiply it by an extra 50% times 1.5 to 37%, okay? Because all you're going to be doing is doing that only raises your prices overall about 12 to 13%, which a customer will not miss or know. And if you make your sales process 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times better than it is now, you can justify that increase. So now if you're at 37.5%, which you can do with a good estimating process, you take that 343,200 and you multiply it by 0.375, all of a sudden, watch what happens. Now you're making $128,700. You see, running a painting business isn't about shoving more cold, crappy leads through a broken sales process. That's what everybody thinks. Oh, if I could just shove more leads through a crappy process. It's about lead sourcing. Where do those leads come from? How good of a quality are they? It's about your closing rates and your sales process. You see, it's like there's a console of dials. And if you will turn those dials, you can take, with the same amount of money, you can just start making adjustments and do things like double your sales, double your profits. It's about tweaking these dials. Math, remember? Marketing's about emotions of the customer and math. The mathematics: cost to lead, cost to sell, profit margins, average job size, closing rates. That's really what we teach you. And in your second 30 days with us with the Power Paint presentation process, we're going to equip you to raise your prices and to raise your closing rates. So go ahead right now, while it's on your mind, click the little button for the diagnostic and free assessment call. I promise you it'll be well worth your time no matter the decision you make. So in this third installment, we're going to talk about evening out your sales, meaning that the feast and famine that you're constantly getting in your painting business, the ups and the downs, we're going to talk about evening those out and making it easier for you to have a predictable painting business. So go ahead right now, click the diagnostic and assessment call before your open enrollment period expires, and we'll talk to you next time about making your painting business more profitable and more predictable overall.